Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horror review. Just me tonight, so afraid all you Dale Gibson fans out there, just gonna have to put up with me. Of course, fantastic to have her on the show. Last time I had a great laugh, and hopefully more to come. But looking into the future, I want to start inviting more people onto these because it's great me sitting here talking, and like I said, Chris and Dale turn up in the chat and the other guys. Great to talk to you, but nothing beats having somebody to bounce off, especially when you're, especially a movie like this I'm about to talk about. Because oh my god, this was awful. It wasn't even bad awful. It was just what the hell. So I was just looking for something. Yeah, sorry for as well for lack of videos, but I've been busy in work, and also we have got a really busy weekend coming up with our third session of Call of Cthulhu, so I'll have to do a bit of prep for that. And also, Cameron and I have Talk Spot on Sunday, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Big deep dive if you've read the description. Oh, got a new person. Hello, Mike. Greetings. Welcome. Usually get a few people jump on here, so don't feel being on our own. Maybe Chris will pop on in a wee moment. Welcome. So here we go. I just, like I said, majorly busy weekend coming up, so I'm doing a lot of prep for it, and I just needed something to watch. So this came across randomly, and I thought, yeah, why not? When I read the title and realized that Jamie Lee Curtis and David Copperfield were going to be in this, I was like, oh, yes, excellent. I was actually excited, looking for a really good, fun movie, and oh my god, where do we get? Right, I normally don't read out the blurb, but listen to this. So, Terror Train 1980 slasher film directed by Roger Spottiswoode in his directorial debut and starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Ben Johnson, and Hart Bochner. Set aboard a moving train on New Year's Eve, the film follows a group of pre-medical students holding a costume party who are targeted by a killer who steals their costumes after murdering some students to avoid getting caught. We'll talk about that. It features supporting performances from Sandy Curry, Anthony Sherwood, and David Copperfield. Now, you'll understand why I think about this movie, right? The concept for the film was based on an idea by executive producer Daniel Grodnick, who sought to make Halloween on a train. A full-length script for the film was composed by T.Y. Drake, and production was initiated within 4 months. The film was shot in Montreal between late November and late December 1979, shortly after Curtis had completed filming for Prom Night. Another excellent movie. God, I'll have to revisit. It's been so long since I've watched that one. Blah blah blah. Don't need to worry about that. But so Halloween had come out, and you know the standard of that movie. Prom Night's been out, and then poor Jamie Lee Curtis. She hasn't had much. She's had fantastic actors, but my God, she's done some terrible movies, especially recently. But yeah, if you're expecting Halloween the train, camera work in this is really shoddy. It's very grainy. It's almost like old school Hammer House of Horror. In fact, some of them are better shot. I don't know what they were doing, and super cheap cameras. So that oh, there's Chris on. Yep, chat's starting to fill up now. Greetings. Prom Night would have made a great horror movie. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to revisit that one. I have not seen that in years. I tell you what, I don't know what happened to Jamie Lee Curtis. She does not look good in this movie. I don't know if it's her character, but or the camera or what, but she looks rough in this. I'll tell you. And this isn't like years or anything. Like, in fact, she looks, I don't know, she just looks weird and gawky and acts weird and gawky in this one. I don't know if that's what her character's meant to be, but yeah. So, premise of the story for those who haven't watched it, this is set during one of them weird American fraternity things. I don't get it. Obviously me being stiff upper lip British, we don't do that sort of thing. We have prime ministers who put their PPs into pigs' heads, civilized stuff, not this fraternity business. You know how it is. But So this is the fraternity thing in universities. Basically, you join some sort of club or live in a house. It's don't get it anyway. It's like you've got the halls of residence, and you've got these like super duper houses for the weirdos who seem to want to always spank each other and cover each other and stuff and be naked all the time, and supposed to be bonds for life, and then they make like Illuminati style connections for the future. I think, but you have these guys. The main, like, you've got the killer, protagonist, antagonist. So the main antagonist is a guy called Doc, and he's a bit of a twisted sort of person. I'm gonna see this all through the movie, but even early, he's basically the class bully. He's one of them type, he abuse people, has a bit of power and authority over others who look up to him and abuse it. But this young guy, Ed, is it? God, I forget his name now. Kenny. Sorry, Kenny. I knew it was a sort of. So, and this is your typical shy nerd. Like they couldn't have made the stereotypes. This may as well be in high school as opposed to university, but that's the way done. Kenny's a shy person, and they have to wear hats and blazers when they're initiates or something. But like biker gangs, that have the prospects with a don't wear the patch, but they have to wear something that says prospect on it. Well, it's a bit like that with these university things. I suppose any club really, you've got your initial thing, and then you get to be in the club. So they're having this party, and Jimmy Lee's character, Alana, has been talked into playing a prank. This guy Doc, he's all about pranks, and we'll see it through the movie. But premise of the story is that she's leading them on, and anybody with a bit of ounce, when everyone's like, "Oh, she really likes you. Oh, you should go to the house. Yeah, we're all behind you, brother." You'd be like, that's suspicious. That's too good to be true. But anyway, she's the attractive girl. Leads him into the bed. No, he falls up and she's pretending to be away. He goes into the bedroom. And she's like hiding on the other side of the bed, calling him over, all that kind of stuff. So what effectively the joke is, I know it's spoilers, but there's not much. It's not a movie that you're going to be raptured by. It's a popcorn flick at best. Just to go, that happened. If that makes sense. He's let in, and on the bed, because they're medical students, have nicked a corpse out of the mortuary, placed it in the bed, and then he thinks he's getting jiggy with her, and it turns out he's touching the corpse. Then what happens is he realizes, and then the weirdest scene ever I can describe is he's on top of the bed and he goes, "Wah!" and spins around and gets caught in the curtains. The way like a four-poster bed has the like what do you call them, curtain drapey things? There's probably a name for them, but this is what we see, and it's done in super cringe-worthy slow motion. It's actually painful to watch, and the idea of the joke with the corpse is funny, cool, but at the end of the day, they're all medical students. He shouldn't have had the reaction he had. Just like don't know if he's first year or what, but yeah, whatever. But he does this weird spinny thing, gets caught up in the curtains, and I thought he got killed. I thought that was the thing, and we're going to get a specter or ghost or something. But it turns out, that scene happens, and I mean, it is cringeworthy. You watch that scene, you're just like, oh my god, what the hell were they thinking? Now, we've already had Halloween, prom night, so they know how to make horror movies. We've seen good. We've had The Exorcist by a stage. We've had Texas Chainsaw Massacre by a stage. It's only bloody 1980. There's been enough. We've had the whole slew of horror Hammer House on budgets, so you can make a good movie on a budget. There's no excuse for this shittiness. That's just my feeling. This. Then it cuts to 3 years later, and that's the bit that gets me, because this should have been 10 years later, reunion or something. Not 3 years later, about to do their finals, and then they have a last hurrah sort of thing before graduating. So the idea is they've booked an old steam engine. there's loads of railway preservation societies and historical societies do this, so this is not a mad concept. You can do it, especially over here. Do it all the time. There's loads of you can hire a steam train and book a party. Maybe not as extravagant as this is laid out. This is supposed to show their opulence and money. But yeah, they've hired out the entire train. It's going overnight to somewhere, and yeah, that's the idea. There's booze and food, and they're all getting up to hijinks. Cool enough idea. Women doing it myself. I mean, was that saying book a train now? Used to have loads of fun on the train, going to concerts and stuff with folks you met in the bar. Good times had by all. Yeah, so then we start off. We get the first kill within 10 minutes, so that's a good thing. Yeah, we have had loads, and we're about to drop our 100th episode of Horrific Tales. We have had great authors to date. We have had 72 authors involved in the show for as long as we've been going. We've been going just over 2 years. We've had 72 authors, and just about to feature our 100th story. We have tons of great writers and authors. We've also had independent movie directors on as well. So I have a whole behind the scenes. I have a group and a network of the contributors to the show. I want to try and do is not just get them on here so you guys get to meet them, not just with their stories, but meet them as people and getting their takes on horror movies and the genre, just to get them out there. But behind the scenes, I'm trying to get them to collaborate with each other. And if somebody has a movie idea, somebody else might have a script. Get the two of them together. I really want to see. When I was wishing everybody a happy new year, I really emphasized the point. What I'd love to see is some sort of collaborative effort come from people who have got involved with this channel and met each other through this channel. It would give me great heart because, as you know, I'm a proponent for. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but that's the whole point of live and having people on the chat. If no point having you on here, I'm going to ignore you. But I'd love to see some project happening that was just people met by being involved with the channel and not even having anything to do with me, but to come talk to me maybe a year later and have put something together. And that's the reason why. That would give me real heart that my little part of the internet, I'm doing something useful with it, rather than just sitting here yapping about things. I'm not about just complaining or critiquing or that kind of stuff. This is just another avenue to just express myself and enjoy horror, in all its forms. But I'd love to see that happen, and I think there's every chance it could. With a lot of talented people, just seem to be quite shy. As you know, the ones that get involved with the show are great. Loads of interviews. Check out the Horrific Chat series as well, where I've interviewed loads of different creators. Some chats went on for over 2 hours. Set aside an hour, but we'll get banter and cracking along, and it's just times run on, and it's good times had by all. Like I said, a few independent movies, featured them on here. I've done reactions to their trailers. I've reviewed their movies as well. Some guys have put stuff out on YouTube and that, and reviewed it. Every bit helps. But yeah, loads of creative ideas. But this is the problem with Hollywood. Hollywood is the corporate machine. And I think it's good to highlight it. And rather just I hated that movie, it was shit. Explain why I didn't like a movie or explain why I did. It's just as important. Both sides of the coin, rather than just going, oh, brilliant, because buzzword, actually go into the plot and go, well, that's why I'm not feeling it. Now, you're always free to disagree, of course. If I pan a movie that you really enjoy, and I'm getting tortured at the moment now because I have a whole people have kind of got the impression I don't like found footage movies. Don't know why. I might have mentioned it once or 10 times, but now they're all trying to. I've got this religious cult of found footage fans trying to convert me, which is absolutely hilarious. I'm going to try and do another one beginning of next week. But yeah, that's always funny. But yeah, it's all good. As long as everything's done in good spirit and banter, I'm all for it, But back to this movie. Ed, one of the guys, was see just getting out of board of the train, and then he's got a sword sticking out of him. We also see David Copperfield. I don't know if it's the gave his name as David Copperfield, but he's known as the magician. But he's playing as a magician. He's not doing anything else. He's loading onto the train, and then we see one of the guys getting on the about to get on the train, but he's acting because he's got a sword through him, and people think he's pretending. Ha, whatever. They all jump on the train. He's the last person, falls over. Turns out he's been killed. Sword, and then he's put on the tracks. What I will say, despite having the first kill within the first 10 minutes, this movie's slow. We don't get the second kill for ages. There's a lot of faffing about. And there actually aren't that many kills in the movie, even though there's loads of, cannon fodder, slasher fodder. What we'll call them. I've tried meat bags, but you know how there's loads of characters and you know they're just there to be offed. Need to come up with a term. That's something I'm going to have to think about for if there's not like an official one. Need to think out there. Basically, there's loads of characters, so there's loads of opportunity for kills in this, and there really isn't. Now, we know it's Kenny. That's it. There's no secret about who the killer is. It's Kenny. Because that's the only plot line in this. So why they have him hiding his face and pretending to be somebody else is kind of pointless. Also, we hear from Jimmy Lee's character very soon into it that she went to visit him in the insane asylum, so he didn't get killed. He was driven insane, hence the whole whoa, and that's going to come up later. Bogs my mind. Seeing freaking cool. Yeah. But that's the industry. That's why I've always likened, anyone that watches this channel knows, I've always likened the Hollywood and the mainstream sort of movie and entertainment industry as fast food chain restaurants. Right? They all do the same meal. It's the same burger. It's the same fries. It's the same whatever. It's the same box. But they paint the box a different color every time they want to promote something new. But you open the box and you get the exact same thing. No difference. And that might be fine for the normie audience. And that's the problem with mainstream. Horror is a strange, but we've talked about this loads of time. Horror is, as I say, the red-headed stepchild. It's that strange beast that keeps the movie industry afloat. Look at last year. Horror movies kept the movie industry afloat. There's a whole plethora of horror movies, while all the mainstream ones that flipping $200 million budgets, all that kind of nonsense, falling flat in their face. And meanwhile, loads of little horror movies at tiny budgets making money. And that's the only thing that kept the movie industry afloat last year. Check it out. Well, I'll say I'm not buffing out. I've no skin in the game to say what it is or isn't. It's just it's funny to see, and yet still the Hollywood audience, the powers that be, the ones that make movies, look down their nose at the horror franchise. Normally audiences look down their nose at the horror franchise. And it's weird. Because there's more depth and feeling. That's why I like to cover all the, not just the mainstream ones, but loads of weird independent movies as well when I do these reviews, because there's such a plethora of, and as Chris said rightly, even the stuff we feature, the stuff we feature ourselves in this show from our authors, there's such a plethora of talent out there and imagination. And the horror genre is so wide-ranging and has so many different subgenres and contexts that you never get bored, right? If you're bored with slasher movies, go to psychological horror. You're bored with that, go to horror comedy. You're bored with that, go to cosmic horror. You're bored with that, go to gothic horror. Blah, 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 blah. You cannot get bored in the horror genre. There's something almost for everybody. And even if you watch one, even when I want to mix it up in this, if I watch a couple of vampire movies, I'll switch over to something else. Or if I watch a couple of hot comedies, I'll switch to something else. And I don't get bored because there's always something new. But Hollywood still haven't quite done that. And this movie is an example of laziness and paint by numbers. And they've already had great examples to go by. And nah. What's going here? And all are one-dimensional characters keep making stupid decisions, and the main reason to move the film, yeah, it's chug, 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 long conveyor belt. Next. Now, in this, I suppose I'll give it credit. I'm not completely side off. In this, there's no real reason for stupid behavior. They're all partying, they're all drunk. It's a train. They're up and down, going to the bathroom. They've got sleeper cabinets. They're trying to get jiggy with each other, and nobody's really aware, if that makes sense. So I think that's what's frustrating. There's so much scope for this to be a great movie, and I don't know whether because it was an experienced director, but here's a director with a writer. This guy didn't try to do it all himself. He had a team. He had experienced actors from the horror genre, studio behind him. So there's enough help. It isn't like somebody just wrote this in the back of a scratch pad. No, said 4 months, but you don't need a super complicated script to make a good movie. God, what was it? The Horror Express with Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and Telly Savalas. We covered that one. That was a fun movie. It was also on a train. And even though it had Telly Savalas doing this weird scene when he jumped on as a Russian Kosovac, that's what the film went. It was almost like David Bowie movie, or any movie that David Bowie's in, always does weird shit. Telly Savalas just came on this, not giving shits, but it was entertaining and it was a good movie. In fact, there's another example if they wanted to follow a template of a horror movie on a train. There's enough there to put together from so-called these what do you call it, examples, and they've fluffed this up. Why do all the characters have to be from the lowest common denominator of society? Well, these are medical students, and once again, my theory, or what's been proven time and time again, big brain equals dum-dum in horror movies. The bigger the brain, the dumber in the horror movie. Prince of Darkness, God, I called them all out last night. Last time I was on with Dale. That one, as above, so below. I have PhD. I'm Mr. Big Brain, Mrs. Big Brain, PhDs and doctorates this and 20 degrees, and they're all idiots. Prometheus, The Thing, because a lot of dumb people in that, even the doctors and all are dumb. It's just, it seems to be the more educated people are, the more idiotic they are in horror movies. It's almost like when you talk about the values of horror movies, the virtues. One of them is have a bit of common sense, which they don't. But this could have worked if it was just tweaked a bit differently. But the way they did it, we get the second kill. Who is it? God, fella in the lizard outfit. He thinks he's speaking to the first guy because that's the whole thing. He's sneaking around in the costumes. That's just so badly done. Then he gets killed. Then another girl gets killed. The boyfriend of the one in the lizard costume. And then he gets stuck because the girl that he kills is only wearing a dress. So she doesn't have a costume. Poltergeist. There's one. Poltergeist is a perfect example of that. You had, as much as they're the sort of yuppie hippie family, you had a close family, all like good relations with each other, banter, and then they got hit blindsided by the poltergeist. And they thought it was funny at first until the horror ensues. Those that watched it, we covered that one as well, talked about it in depth. But there's an example of decent, likable characters who played good parts, getting completely shafted by the supernatural. And especially Poltergeist 2. we'll not talk about Poltergeist 3. That was a bit weird. Don't know what they were thinking with that. But, I mean, there's a perfect example of a series. The Exorcist. What did Reagan ever do wrong to deserve what happened to her? I mean, she appears later on, after it all happened. She wasn't a bad character. Didn't seem to be a bad family either. And even the two priests were devout and genuinely wanted to help her. What did they do wrong? That's why movies like that stand the test of time. House, it's a horror comedy. God, I forget his name, the author, who got his aunt's, was it his aunt's house? He killed herself. He didn't do it. Oh, he did. Sorry, there's a bit of a backstory to that. But he wasn't intentional. He wasn't a bad guy. I don't think he deserved what happened to him. So we've got loads of examples of that, and I'm sure you guys can give me loads too. Anyone that watches this, keep breaking. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, the whole virtue thing, isn't it? I'm not a fan of the Scream franchise, but the first one did touch on it quite well. After that, I just gave it. I've talked about that too, but yeah, all the rules of horror. No unsolicited sex. Don't go in the dark room. Don't read from the book made out of human flesh, written in blood. Basics. Anyone with common sense don't do that sort of thing. But that's the fun of horror as well. We don't always have to be surprised and our expectations subverted. It's all right to know what's coming. When somebody's all right, okay, there's a crypt with a body. Don't steal stuff off the corpse. Job done. Walk by the corpse. Be respectful. No bother. Oh, you're going to raid the tomb. Okay. So be it. You get what's coming to you. We all know it and we love it. That's why we love this genre, because it's sometimes just spelled right out in front of you, but we still have a laugh as the numpties do it. But with this movie, they're just, I don't know, you just didn't get time to like any of the characters, really. They were just there. The initial scene and the cause of it all was just dumb. And then the fact that it was only 3 years later, and then we're not meant to know who the killer is, but we know exactly who it is. Now, what they tried to do was blindside you with David Copperfield, because he wasn't just a cameo, he's actually in the movie. And in fairness to him, he's pretty decent. He's playing the magician, he's warming up for the act, his glamorous assistant, and he does his magic show, which is quite funny, because once again, we've got a moving train. It's an old style one, yet there's enough space to make this the elaborate stage set. It's a stage, but it's still a funny idea. But what they're trying to do is make you think that he's a killer. If it had been 10 years later, you might have got away with that. So if you had like it where you start off with them as kids and then transpose into adult life, you might have got away with that. But it was only 3 years. You know what I mean? He's still Kenny. And another thing I don't get, Kenny's a wee weed, right? He's scrawny. He's no confidence. You can't say it. Where does he get the strength to take? Because these are medical students, but they're also the jocks, the American term, all the like big buff, well-built people, and even with a bit of drink on them. If a wee weed comes at you, even with a knife, you're going to plant them. End of story. And yet he's able to dispatch these people with ease. Just go through them. The conductor is a weird character in this, because he finds the first body and then he comes back and the body's gone, and then he thinks he's the magic, and then he finds the second body and then he thinks it's gone, and then he's trying to convince people, like about 3 people out of a whole train of like about 60 odds, that there's a killer, and then people don't believe him, and then they find the body, and then everyone's panicking. That's so shoddily done. I actually got bored halfway through it. I was struggling. It's one of the ones I was struggling to pay attention to. This whole madness ensues. they couldn't afford a radio because it was a private enterprise. They couldn't afford a radio, like a CB radio, in 1980. I didn't grow up in a rich household and I had a CB radio. They were like 40 quid back in the day. It's not like they were putting in sat nav and like major telecommunications. It was a friggin' ham radio. Apparently couldn't afford that. Yeah, okay. Gravedigging is among the worst crimes you can do and deserves horrific death, or to listen to 3 hours and share a seminar. Either one. If you catch it, check out my review for Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. That was one of my favorite episodes. It was 8 episodes, and I ranked them from least favorite to most favorite. I think that came in at number 3 or number 2. That was pretty high up. The one featuring the grave robbers. Good episode. It's worth checking out if you haven't seen that series yet. Where are we? Yeah, so this madness ensues up and down the train. We've got David Copperfield doing magic in between. And we've got Jamie Lee Curtis going up, and she's the one who goes, it was Kenny, because I spoke to him in the asylum and he's insane, blah, blah, blah. And then here's a weird plot twist. Doc is the manipulator, the prankster. And he's boyfriend, girlfriend with the one that got, the third one to get killed. And his mate, whose name I can't remember, is Jamie Lee Curtis's character's boyfriend. He sets up as a elaborate plan to pretend that it was his friend's idea for this party. Now, his friend paid for it, apparently all. Like, they couldn't even have it that they all chipped in. No, he's rich enough to pay for an entire train. You know, that's really stupidity. Anyone else, like you do a formal or a ball, you sell tickets, people who want to turn up, and then that covers the cost. I don't get it. Why they had to make it, but he did it to then reveal that it was his idea, and then that was a reason for those two to fall out. Oh god, my brain actually had to like do this because my brain was trying to escape at that point. I'm just like, what is this? They're trying to show Doc to be the manipulator or not, and then he tries to set his mate up with another girl, and then tell Jamie Lee to go and catch him. That didn't happen. Fucking this whole subplot and Doc's evilness is just dumb. It hurt my brain, and I think that's why I switched off a bit. I had to go back because I'm like, oh, did more people get killed back? Oh no, they didn't. Right? I think about 5 or 6 people. Like there's about 100 people in this train, and like 5 or 6 get killed in total. And then, just I don't know. I'm struggling now. Glad I got you guys on because honestly, this has hurt my brain talking about this. Yeah. Even Spec, you back each other up. Well, we've talked about this before. Like, you don't hit the killer once, you hit the killer 20 times. Then you kick him in the head to make sure. And you don't pat the body, you ding. And you don't hit them once with your weapon and drop the weapon and run away. And you don't go off on your own, you go in teams. And it takes you a bit longer, so with it. And when you find a safe spot, you stay in it. You don't friggin' start going out to investigate and do weird stuff. If you're starting to get bad vibes about a place and looking dodgy, you don't go there. Even never mind supernatural stuff, but like the hills have eyes and all that, and you go into that sketchy town, they're all like, you're a stranger in these parts. You're like, oh, okay. You don't hang about. We all know this. We all know this. This movie doesn't. Even hiding the killer, the reveal to the end, when we all knew from minute one who it was stupid. In fact, we could have had more fun with it being him, and then the fact that he went to the gym or something in between. Then they have this weird scene where finally they stop the train. Yeah, and also they had 3 actors play Darth Vader. God, I don't start me about Star Wars. That's why I gave up a long time ago on sci-fi and fantasy as genres. Their decline has been rapid and total. Like you can't even watch them anymore. At least with horror, you still get fresh new ideas, and they're still genuine. Even the bad movies, there's still a genuine desire to make them, and that still comes across, even if they're executed badly. Even this movie, there isn't a hatred for the audience; it's just incompetence. So you can't hate it, if that makes sense, or be repulsed by it. It's just badly done by an inexperienced director who didn't get support. You know, that's all I'll say. I don't hate the guy that made this movie. He hasn't made me hate him. He hasn't called me names or an instant or phobe for not liking his movie, or he hasn't tried that, or he hasn't put some preachy weird stuff telling me I'm a bad person. So while I'm saying this movie's dumb, I'm not revulsed by it. Where today's movies, now David Gordon Green, if he fell down some stairs, I wouldn't be unhappy about it. And I'm actually worried that this year he's going to destroy the Exorcist franchise. At least we've got the old stuff. So get your Blu-rays, order your Blu-rays, and have your copies, because it's a coming. So there we go. Him and Jordan Peele are the two arseholes in horror. At least there's only two of them that I can think off the top of my head. Where if you look at other franchises, they're ram-packed full, and it's actually the other way around, full of arseholes, and you've got one or two decent people who actually want to entertain you. At least with the horror genre, still, you've got it. You've got decent people who actually want to make it. Might not always do it well, and obviously you've got to call them out, but at least you know the feelings are and the hearts are. But yeah, on to this movie, we get this weird spot where they stop the train and they tell everybody there's a killer on board. Now, remember back to what I was saying about you've got the beefy jocks. They're all, American football players, all that kind of stuff. That's because they're actors, they're all well built and all that kind of stuff. But you've all these big dudes, and they're not kids. They're in their 20s. If they're final year PhD students, they're about 23, 24. So you think of a soldier joins up, has already got a tour under their belt at that point. So these aren't weedy type folks. What happens is they get them all off a train while two people go and search the train for the killer. Now, I'm sorry, and this is where we're talking about making stupid decisions. Get 5 or 6 of those people with wrenches, shovels, baseball bat, whatever's handy, bunch of weapons, go clear the bloody train out. 5 people each compartment, there'd be no killer. And even if they encounter the killer, he's still a wee weed. So being fully aware, and nothing sobers you up like at an emergency and being chucked out in the cold. So they wouldn't be drunk, they'd be sobered up immediately. And this wee guy would have got panned. The fact that he can hide in the train the way he does, even with everyone then realizing where he is, just painful. Like I said, just badly executed. But that's what they did. Then everybody jumps in the train again. They all go to one carriage. But of course, Jamie Lee's character and the conductor go back and forward up and down the train by themselves, because that's smart. Yeah, that's what you do. Once again, you've got everybody in a safe place. Meh. I'm going to walk up and down the train. Yeah, just in your comments there, don't start me about flipping destroying Darth Vader or not. That character's long in the dust now. Uncle Fester was the only good character in that Wednesday movie or series. Oh god, that episode with him in it was the only decent one. The rest of that thing was bland. He's a fantastic character. At least that one hasn't been totally ruined yet. But yeah, this whole thing with searching for this killer, then Jamie Lee gets kidnapped. She locks herself in the cage. Then she stabs him. Woo. This drags on. And then eventually we'll have the final confrontation. And Jesus Christ, this is where he has her at a table, and then we get the reveal. He takes off the mask and it's Kenny, and you're like, yeah, nobody's surprised. God, when you're in the first 5 minutes, what is this? And then he's like, oh, I just want a kiss from you or something weird. And she does it. And then the conductor comes in, beats him with a shovel. And then he does remember I said at the start, whoa, he does that weird shit. And then he gets booted off a train in the bridge. And it was that was proper Hammer House. The thing landed in the river. And, we've seen that in the Hammer horror movies hundreds of times. So that was well used. And that was it. That was a movie. Bloody hell, this was a slog to get through. Check it out, but have it on in the background. Don't waste time actually like sitting down to invest in this movie. It's not worth it. Such a shame too. I don't know what they did with Jamie Lee Curtis in this, but she's not a good character in this. Just bit of wasted talent, in my opinion. David Copperfield, his appearance is the only thing that kept this interesting, because it was partly a David Copperfield show in between a horror movie. So at least there was something decent to watch, because the rest of it was boring as hell. Yeah, and I didn't even watch. Didn't they make a sequel of that? And that weird thing with Sean Bean's character just sitting there staring off into the thing in the distance. That was I really wanted to like Silent Hill, but yeah, I get what you mean. I struggled with that, but at the end, I was all excited and pumped up at the idea, and then towards the end, just like okay. And then I heard the sequel, and like no interest. And don't know how many movies they put it, but when I lose interest in something, I don't care. And this movie's like that, it was boring, and we know that could be done, and it didn't have to have super duper special effects. It just had to have a bit of tension, maybe a confrontation with each one. The killers, instead of all the back and forth, the weird shit. The subplot in this with Doc was a waste of time. Jamie Lee was a wasted character, wasted actor in this. David Copperfield, trying to do the misdirection. Oh, and how can he? It turned out he was dressed. He was the beautiful assistant. He was the magician's assistant, so he was dressed up as the assistant, as a woman in this, and that was a big reveal too. That's how he was able to sneak about the place. That made no sense. It was dumb. Didn't need it. Don't know what they're trying to achieve there. Oh, he killed the assistant and then took her place. That's what it was, I think. I don't care. Shit. It just didn't land. Well, there you go. I'll wrap it up. God, you're an artist, flip's sake. I always take longer. See, when I really don't like a movie, I always take longer reviewing it than when I like it. Just nitpicking all the parts I didn't. And a few tangents, as in the Horrific podcast tradition. Went on a few tangents here, which is always fantastic. But there you go. There's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks everyone in the chat for turning up. Thanks for everybody watching across our platforms. Obviously streaming us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching it. Thanks very much. Really appreciate you taking the time to jump in. As I said, with a busy weekend coming up, with quite a few scheduled streams. Oh, you too, Chris. Best luck. I'm just wrapping up anyway. Hopefully catch you at the weekend. But yeah, Mike as well. Thanks very much. Great comments, and good to get some discussion happening here about the horror genre. But yeah, busy things coming up. Check out our channel and our scheduled streams to see what's happening. And as usual, keep up with the channel, do the typey clicky things, and until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.